Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Welcome to A Quick Shot of Romance. I am Becky.
And I am Leah.
And Leah, look, we did it. It wasn't awkward until I said, hey, look, it wasn't awkward.
It was a little awkward, but nothing too crazy.
We're getting better. This is our goal, you guys. By the end of the year, no more awkward intros.
We're close. We got another month to figure it out.
We got 12 whole weeks left in 2021.
That's not very much.
It really isn't.
Not a lot.
No. It really isn't. Okay, so on this quick shot of romance, we are reviewing The Rebel Billionaire by Ivy Layne. This is part of the Winters family saga, but it also fits our theme for October, which is the anti-hero or the unlikely hero.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we are talking all about Lucas Jackson.
Yeah. He's a good one.
He's so good.
So the synopsis from Goodreads. We said we could do casual. We swore we wouldn't fall in love. We lied. Charlie. I didn't buy my house just so I could stare at the guy next door. I swear. It's not my fault he mows the lawn with his shirt off. His tattooed muscles are an eye magnet. I can't look away. The first kiss is an accident. One taste, and I have to have more. We were supposed to keep it casual. Neighbors with benefits, no big deal. When a client comes after me for turning him into the FBI, Lucas swears he'll keep me safe. I'm not supposed to fall in love with him. That's not the deal. I'm walking straight into broken heart, and I can't stop myself. Lucas, my new neighbor is a nightmare or a wet dream. Charlotte Winters, the crown princess of the Winters clan. It shouldn't be hard to keep my distance. We have nothing in common. I grew up not knowing where my next meal was coming from. She grew up with a personal chef, but Charlie isn't what I expected. It's not just that she's funny and determined and sexy as hell. She's vulnerable, she's in danger, and she turns to fire in my arms. One kiss and I'm in too deep to walk away. I have no business being friends with a woman like her, much less claiming a place in her bed. Too fucking bad. Now that I've had a taste of Charlie, I'm not giving her up. Not until I have to, even if it destroys us both. The Rebel Billionaire is a standalone romance with a happy ending. It's the 5th book in the Scandals of the Bad Boy Billionaire series and reveals more about the notorious Winters family. You can read it on its own. Everything you need to know is explained, but once you get a taste, you'll want to read the others.
So release date for this is March 22nd of 2017. And I think for a book that is 3 years old, it holds up. Well, almost 4.
Almost
4 years.
4, yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, because it's 2021, almost 2022.
Yeah, so it holds up. It absolutely holds up. Tropes, billionaire romance. She is the billionaire.
I know, I like that little twist on it.
Close proximity. Neighbors. He's a possessive hero.
Oh yeah.
Protector, bit of a protector romance, and there is a slight suspense with her stalker. So
she does that though, like she trickles that little like taste of suspense in all of them.
So trigger content warning, it does deal with a stalker, and it does mention parents and aunt and uncle murder suicides. So not a ton. It doesn't go into great detail, but it is part of the story. This series is The Scandals of the Billionaire Bad Boys. This is book 5 of 10. And I read this. I channeled my inner Danica without knowing I was channeling my inner Danica on this series.
Oh yeah.
I read it out of series. Out of number. I read book 3 first, and I've actually never gone back and read book 1 or 2.
I will argue though, book 1 and 2 are novellas for Holden and Tate. Like they're novellas. So it's easier to skip them because they're short and sweet. They are very good and very dirty. So you are missing out. You should read them.
Yeah, I haven't read their books, but I then did read every book after.
And we didn't mention the pop yet.
No, what was the pop? I didn't write it down.
The pop was 17%. But let me tell you, that kiss at 6% where you expect the pop to happen, hot damn, that was a good kiss.
Yeah, 17% was the pop.
It popped early, and then it never stopped popping.
It popped, and it popped hot.
It did. But honestly, that kiss at 6%
is pretty steamy.
It's very steamy.
So there are 10 books in this series. Like I said, I picked the series up at book 3. You do not need to read them in order or read even all of them, because Ivy Layne does an exceptionally good job of catching you up with the overarching theme of the family.
It is. And actually, if you read the books, I believe the overarching storyline taps out at book 8, which is Annalise's book, because 9 is Aiden, and then 10, I don't want to tell you who 10 is because it's kind of a surprise if you haven't read them. So the overarching storyline taps out at 8, and then Aiden's kind of starts something brand new and ties 9 and 10 together. But you do not need to read them. They hold up really well as standalones. Like, you are not lost at all, like, in the story.
This is one of those few series that with an overarching storyline actually holds up individually. And you feel like at the end of Rebel Billionaire, I felt like I had a complete story. I could walk away from Lucas and Charlotte. And if I didn't pick up another book in the family series, I was content. I felt like I knew what was going on with them. I knew who they were, and I saw them in 5 years.
Well, and I think part of it though too is like the way she tells the story of the parents and the aunt and uncle, like the Winters matriarchs and patriarchs. Like, you're almost not expecting that to have a resolution. Like, just the way she writes it, like, you're comfortable not having a resolution with it. And I think that's the biggest thing with the way she writes.
I'd agree. Okay, so let's talk about Charlotte/Charlie. She's the youngest in the whole family. Yes,
like out of all of the cousins and siblings, like, she's the baby.
So at this point, she has 3 brothers, 2 brothers.
Well, there's Aiden, Vance. Aiden and Vance, I think, are...
Aiden and Gage are hers. Or no, Gage and Vance are
Gage
cousins.
Gage and Aiden are the oldest 2. Aiden
and they're
is
the
her
cousin.
brother. Gage is a cousin. I think Holden... Is Holden the brother or a cousin? Because Tate and Holden are cousins. They're not brothers.
So I think Tate is her brother. Holden is the cousin.
Okay.
Jacob is her brother.
And Annalise and Vance are cousins.
Okay. So are we still missing one? Because there's 4 total, right? Or there's 9 total Winters.
Yes.
So we're missing somebody.
I don't know. It gets confusing because honestly, like, when they're talking about everyone, like, they're more siblings. Like, this is a group of like cousins that were raised together because of circumstances, and they act like siblings. Like, you do not get that feel of cousin. Like, they're very protective of each other. But Charlotte and Annalise are the only 2 girls in the whole entire brood. So that is one thing also.
Well, and Charlotte being the youngest, so the preset of the story is Charlotte's aunt and uncle died in a murder-suicide. When they died, they had a house on the family compound. When they died, the 4 children of those parents moved in to Charlotte's family's home with her mom and dad.
Which is called Winter's house.
Winter's house. Or the compound.
It is like a compound. So, because it has like a fence and it's gated and there's a wall and it's like, yeah, it's a compound.
So the cousins move in with the other 3, I don't know, 3 Winters children.
It's confusing.
It is confusing. So then so they move in, and then 4 or 5 years later, Charlotte's parents, there's a scandal and they have a murder suicide. Now, that whole theme, we're not going to spoil that for anybody, but that plays out throughout the story. And by book 8, you know exactly what is going on with everybody. So if you want conclusion to the overarching, like, what's the deal with the parents and the aunt and uncle, that's at the end. But it's important, but it's not the be all to end all of this series or these stories.
No, it doesn't overpower the story. Like Lucas and Charlie's story and the actions that are happening around Charlie are like the focus of this story. Like their parents' murders and suicides stuff is always something that's there because it shaped their lives. Like the biggest thing, like they talk about in this book, is how when that happened, Aiden moved home, like took care of everybody. He left
moved
Harvard,
home,
finished
took over
out
the family
his
business.
Emory, took over the family business, and like he is happy and content, like continuing this legacy. And Charlotte has been working in the family business since she was 18. And this book opens up and Aiden fires her.
Yeah, so that was a little different. But he fires her. She is the VP of an entire division, and she is good at her job. It's not like he's firing her because she's phoning it in or being a socialite and shoving and not really taking her job seriously. Like
he's firing her because that's all she does. Like she only works. Like her entire life revolves around like Winter's Enterprises or whatever the company is called. And he's like, and he wants more for her because he knows she's not happy there, but she is not recognizing that she's not happy there. So he makes this drastic move and she gets pissed.
She's pissed.
And then proceeds to steal his whiskey decanter.
$15,000 bottle of McClellan whiskey that
like
is
McClellan, like
25 reserve or something.
I don't even know. But she only steals one of his glasses though, like his decanter and one glass.
And she talks about how the decanter is probably as expensive. It's like some high end Waterford crystal or lead crystal.
It's very fancy.
Very fancy, but she steals that with the whiskey in it and one glass.
I think that's the funniest part is like spitefully she doesn't take both glasses, she takes one, so he has to see like the glass sitting there.
The dust ring is still on the shelf with one glass
because he doesn't drink it because it's this $15,000 like bottle of special whiskey.
She's had one sip of it. They shared a glass of it once. He's never allowed his brothers to taste it. And it comes up later on.
Jacob makes a comment about it, like how he never had it.
He was never allowed the opportunity. So, and Charlie is this sassy, determined young lady. And she went to work for the family business because one, Aiden married a woman who was a bitch.
It was a terrible person.
And she basically went to work for the company to escape the house, to get away from the ex-wife. So that's Charlotte. Lucas has seen Charlotte. Charlotte refers to Lucas as lawnmower hottie.
Yeah.
In the book. Like that's how she refers to him when he first.
Well, because that's how she knows him, because he mows the lawn. He like mows his lawn shirtless. And he's like he's tall and big and muscular and tattooed. And so who doesn't want a lawnmower hottie next door?
So she's fired from her job. She decides she has bought a house that she's rehabbing and hoping to flip. It's in an up and coming neighborhood in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And she's decided that screw Aiden. She's taking her shit and she's going home. She doesn't want to live at Winter's house with him. She's mad she's been fired. She goes to the house and with her decanter of very expensive whiskey in her glass, she proceeds to get drunk on the back step. Enter Lucas.
And enter one of the hottest kisses you will ever read.
Oh my God, it was so hot. I would say Lucas is an unexpected book boyfriend.
He is, but I think the thing with Lucas is he is a genuinely good guy. Like he did not have the best upbringing. His family life wasn't the best, but he made decisions that created this genuinely good life for himself. Like, he went to the army at 18. He excelled in like cyber security type things. And so he continues to do that. He is a millionaire in his own right because of how well he has done, but he doesn't live that way. But he's so self-deprecating. And I think that's the biggest thing with Lucas is he's constantly like, I'm not good enough. Like, she looks down on me. And a lot of the hangups in this book are Lucas's internal struggle of whether or not he is good enough.
They're his own insecurities, because there is a fantastic scene later on in the book where Lucas and Charlotte are invited to family dinner. Like, basically he's told, come to family dinner, because through the midst of all of this, there is this stalker / vandal storyline where Charlotte is attacked.
Yes.
Lucas saves her. Charlotte has someone destroy the outside of her house. Lucas catches it.
He kind of loses his shit like every time something bad happens too. Like, because he's
more and more possessive.
He's very intense when it comes to her, and I just love that. Yeah.
So there's this mystery around her that has to do with a former coworker or a former business associate that she turned over to the FBI. So they don't know if this has to do with some of the issues that have happened with the parents that have come to light in some of the other books, or if this is because of her FBI client. And, you know, Lucas is trying to figure it out. There's the Sinclair family who are friends of the Winters that have a security PI firm kind of come into play a little bit. And they have their own spin-off series.
They do.
And we'll talk about that another time. But there's this moment where Charlotte her house has been vandalized. And before she can fully grasp what has happened, Lucas whisks her over to his house next door.
Which is a big moment in the book.
It is a big moment because he has not invited her. They've kept it very friends with benefits, very on the surface.
And only at Charlie's house. Like, they only are at Charlie's house. Like, she has not stepped foot in his lawn. Like, there's a huge separation there. Right.
And so Aiden comes in to grab Charlie and says, we'll see you at dinner. And Lucas is like, no. And he actually calls at the 11th hour to try to cancel. And Aiden's like, I didn't take you for chicken shit.
No, he called him a pussy. Didn't he call him a pussy?
Is that what he calls him?
I think he did. I think he said, I never thought you were a pussy, or something along those lines.
Well, I felt really bad for Lucas in that moment, except this family. And I don't know, you don't know if it's from the parents at this point, or if it's just of how they've come together and you love who you love and the connection that they've made as a group of siblings. But they accept Lucas for exactly who he is.
And they don't even blink. Like, he walks into the house and it's like they don't treat him any differently. Like, they pull him into the fold instantly, and like don't even, it's like, oh, this guy is here with Charlie. Like, okay.
Yeah. So before we get to our questions, I just need to say, this Ivy Layne writes a very sexy book.
She does. She really does.
This book pops, and pops often.
And pops like, well.
Yeah.
Like, they're good.
They're good. This was one of the first series that I found on Kindle Unlimited. I struggled a little bit in the beginning with Kindle Unlimited. And this is one of the first I found that kept me engaged with Kindle Unlimited. So if you're new to Kindle Unlimited and you're not sure exactly like how to find authors or what you like, check out Ivy Layne, because she writes a really good, sexy, possessive alpha hero.
She does. And like, all of them are, but one thing with the way she writes, they're not assholes. Like, sometimes I feel like sometimes authors, like, there's that fine line between alpha and ass.
I challenge you because some of these brothers are assholes. Jacob, the book, which is book 3, he's an asshole.
But he does not.
It's another discussion. The Sinclairs, don't get me started on them. But these books are excellent. Give them a try. They're kind of jackasses, though. But I will say she writes really strong, sassy females that the men do not ride roughshod over.
No, they don't. And that's one thing that I love. Like Charlie, like, yeah, she has some insecurities about different things because of like past relationships and just the way in which they've been raised, because they are billionaires. Like, but she's a confident person. Like, what person doesn't have insecurities? And that's the thing. Like, she is 100% real. Like, she's a real person with normal issues, but she's not like Lucas calls her princess, but she is not a princess. Like, she has no qualms about ripping apart the front porch on her old house, and like no qualms about doing the hard work that she needs to do.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get to our questions. Leah, did you like this book?
I love this book. And honestly, like, I forgot how much I love this series.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I love this book. And just like you, I forgot how sexy this series is. I forgot how good this series is. And like I said, this was a reread for both of us, but I might have to fall down the rabbit hole of this series.
Yeah.
Who would typically like this book?
People who like a tiny little snippet of suspense, but they like a family series, because this entire series is family is the most important things to them.
If you're a fan of T.L. Swan and you like her books, or even Louise Bay and her Mr. Series, you will like these books. These are possessive alpha heroes with sassy, strong female leads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And would you recommend this book?
I do recommend this entire series a decent amount, but after rereading this one, like, I will recommend it even more. And I definitely am going to have to reread the entire series, because there are little like nuances that I picked up in this one that it's been a while since I've read them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, because like Vance and Maggie's book, I'm like, oh, I got to read that again.
Yeah. Like you, I kind of forgotten how great this series is. I usually recommend Jacob's book because it's a very sexy alpha billionaire that deals with a little bit of BDSM. So I kind of like, that's a good sprinkle one. If you want to try a sexier book, but really Ivy Layne does sexy alpha billionaires with sassy female leads, like nobody's business.
And Jacob, like, he is an asshole, but he's like uber possessive.
We do not have time to defend Jacob tonight. We'll have to do him for another episode.
We should. That's a good idea.
Okay. Everyone, thank you for joining us for this quick shot of romance. Until next time.
Happy reading, everybody.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.